I discovered that a dangerous system called Project Siren was created using my own childhood emotions. The serpents hunted me everywhere. When I learned the truth about my mother, I found the courage to fight back. I destroyed Siren myself. I didn't just survive. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe. Get ready for real emotional and thrilling stories from Black adults that will keep you hooked till the end. My name is Naya Wilson, and sometimes I feel like the universe has been whispering things to me long before I ever learned how to listen. I'm 25 years old, a graphic designer living on Maple Street, a quiet, little neighborhood on the edge of the city where the streetlights flicker like they're tired of holding back the dark. Most people think this street is safe. I used to feel the same. Until the night everything changed. It started on a Wednesday evening. I remember because Wednesdays were the only days I actually came home before 10. I had been editing a campaign project all day, so by the time I walked into my apartment, my head was heavy and buzzing with colors and fonts. I tossed my bag on the couch, made some ramen, and sat down in front of my computer to finish the last few design drafts. That's when it happened. Around 11:47 p.m., I heard footsteps slow, heavy, measured right outside my balcony. At first, I froze. Maple Street wasn't the kind of place where people casually walked on someone's balcony. My apartment was on the second floor, and only a long, narrow metal staircase connected the building's backside to the upper flats. The staircase always screeched like an old man complaining about his bones, and that night it screeched twice. 2 long cries. Someone was climbing. My heartbeat jumped hard, so hard I could feel it in my throat. I reached for the TV remote and muted the sound. Everything went still. The footsteps stopped right outside my sliding door. I couldn't see anything yet, but I could feel it, a presence. A weight in the air. Like someone was standing there, facing the glass, staring in. I swallowed my fear, stood up, and took one small step toward the curtain. My hands were shaking. I kept telling myself that maybe it was a neighbor, maybe someone got lost, maybe I was imagining it. But imagination doesn't make metal stairs scream. I pulled the curtain just 1 inch. Nothing. The balcony was empty. No footprints. No shadow. No one is running away. Just the pale silver light from the moon and the quiet hum of the city in the distance. But I know what I heard. I know I wasn't alone. I stepped back, locked the sliding door, and double-checked it twice. A weird chill crawled up my spine, something I couldn't shake. It wasn't fear alone, it was familiarity. Like whatever was out there wasn't new. Like I'd felt it before. All night, sleep refused to come. I kept waking up, hearing small sounds, taps, creaks, faint whispers that might have been wind or might have been something else. By dawn, I was exhausted, but something inside me had changed. A door I didn't know existed had opened. The next morning, as I rubbed the sleep off my face and stared at myself in the bathroom mirror, a memory slipped in, soft, blurry, like something hiding underwater. My mother, Ella, is standing in our old kitchen. Her eyes were gentle but sad in a way I never understood. "You're different, Naya," she used to tell me. "You see things other people don't. That's not a weakness. But it can feel like one." She died when I was 19. A car accident, they said. Sudden, tragic. End of story. Except nothing about her life ever felt simple or ordinary. She kept secrets, little ones at first, then bigger ones. Hidden letters. Locked drawers. Whispered phone calls. I never pushed her, but after she died, pieces of her mystery floated to the surface. One of those pieces resurfaced that morning. I reached into the back of my bedroom closet and pulled out a small tin box she had left behind. Inside it were things that never felt like they belonged to a normal mother. An old photograph of a building labeled Wilson Developments, a tiny brass key, and a sealed envelope. I never opened that envelope, not because I didn't want to, but because she had written one word on it in thick black ink: Serpents. What did that even mean? A nickname? A group? A warning? I held the envelope in my hand, staring at the word like it was staring back. My mother had been gone for 6 years, yet somehow this envelope suddenly felt connected to what happened last night. I felt watched. I felt chosen. I felt hunted, and I didn't know whether the danger was outside my balcony or inside my past, but I did know one thing. Whatever whispered to me last night wasn't finished, and neither was I. The envelope felt heavier than it should have. Like the words Serpents printed across it carried a weight my mother never had the chance to explain. I sat at my dining table, staring at it as the sun climbed slowly up the sky outside my window. A normal person would have torn it open years ago. But I wasn't normal, and neither was my mother. I slid my thumb along the sealed flap. The paper crackled softly, almost like a sigh escaping it after years of silence. Inside, there was a single folded page yellowed around the edges, creased as if she had folded and unfolded it 100 times before finally sealing it away. I hesitated, then opened it. The handwriting was hers, strong, looping, unmistakable. Naya, if you're reading this, then the shadows have reached you too. My heart tightened. Our family has roots in places darker than you know. If danger comes, go to Wilson Developments. Everything begins there. Everything ends there. My breath caught when I saw the last line. You were never alone. And you were never safe. Mama didn't realize my hands were trembling until a tear slid down my wrist. My mother wasn't dramatic. She was calm, rational, the type of woman who never raised her voice. For her to write something like this, it meant something real. Something terrifying, but I shoved the fear down. I needed answers. No more guessing, no more waiting for footsteps on my balcony, no more shadows whispering my name. If Wilson Developments were the key, I would find the lock. Before leaving, I grabbed the brass key from the tin box and slipped it into my pocket. I didn't know what it opened, but if my mother kept it, it mattered. The building wasn't far, maybe a 15-minute walk from Maple Street. But as I headed there, a sense of déjà vu crawled under my skin. I had passed this route 1,000 times, yet everything suddenly looked unfamiliar. As though the city had shifted its shape overnight. When I reached the building, I stopped in my tracks. Wilson Developments looked nothing like the polished corporate offices I'd imagined. Instead, it was an old brick structure, windows covered in grime, vines climbing one side like slow-moving green fingers. The company sign was half-rusted, the letters barely readable. It looked abandoned. But someone had been here recently. I could feel it. I stepped closer and noticed a thin line of fresh footprints in the dust near the entrance, large, boot-shaped, leading inside. A chill rippled through me. Someone was inside. And I didn't know if they were friend or threat, but I pushed the door anyway. The hinges groaned loudly as I stepped in. The interior was dim, lit only by thin shafts of sunlight cutting through cracks in the boarded windows. Old furniture lay scattered, papers littered the floor, and the air smelled of dust and something metallic. Then I froze. On the far wall, hung crookedly, was a photograph. My mother was in it, years younger, standing beside a group of people dressed in black. Some smiling, some not. And right beside her was a woman I didn't recognize, sharp eyes, silver-streaked hair. A stare that looked like she could see through a person. Written beneath the photo was a name, Margot Wilson. Wilson. Our family name. My throat tightened. Who was she? Why had my mother never mentioned her? I took a step closer, but before I could reach the photograph, I heard it, a faint click. Not loud, not rushed, just purposeful, like someone loading a gun. I whipped around. A shadow moved behind a half-open door on the right. My pulse hammered. If I stayed, I'd be cornered. If I ran, I'd leave with nothing but fear, and I was done being afraid. I steadied myself, took a long breath, and pushed the door open with my foot. The room was empty mostly. Just old desk drawers and an overturned chair. But something was off. The dust on the floor had been disturbed recently. Someone had stood right where I was standing. Then I saw it. Small black device lying under the desk. A recorder. With shaking fingers, I picked it up and pressed play. Static buzzed. Then a woman's voice cut through. Naya, if you hear this, you're closer than you think. My entire body went numb. It was my mother's voice, static. Then, you're not the only one looking for the truth. And not everyone wants you to find it. The recording ended abruptly. My heart pounded so loudly I swear the walls could hear it. Someone had left this here for me. Someone who knew I'd come. Someone who wanted me to know I was being hunted. And at that moment, I realized something terrifying. Those footsteps on my balcony weren't the beginning of the story. They were the warning, and the real danger was just beginning to wake up. The recorder felt warm in my hand, as if my mother's voice still lingered inside it, vibrating through the metal. I stood in the dim, dusty room inside Wilson Developments with 1,000 thoughts crashing into one another. If my mother knew I would come here, did she know what would happen next? Did she know the danger waiting for me? I stepped out into the hall again, the shadows stretching long across the floor like black fingers reaching for my ankles. Every sound felt louder now. Every creak of the old floorboards felt intentional. I kept scanning the corners, expecting someone to step out at any moment. That's when I heard it. A thud. Heavy, distant, but unmistakable. Someone else was in the building. My first instinct was to run, but curiosity, fear's reckless cousin, pulled me forward. I followed the sound, my hand brushing the wall as I walked down a narrow hallway. It led me to a stairwell that spiraled down into a basement. Basements are where bad things happen in stories. I knew that. But my life had already stopped being a normal story, so I went down anyway. The air grew colder with each step. The basement was nothing like the dusty rooms upstairs. It was more organized, almost like someone had been using it recently. There were old filing cabinets, boxes stacked neatly, and a single desk in the center covered with papers. I approached slowly. On the desk lay documents, folders, photographs, some old, some new. One paper caught my eye immediately. The ink was fresh, and the handwriting was neat and deliberate. Subject: inquiry regarding Wilson bloodline, threat level, unstable priority, immediate containment, Wilson's bloodline. My breath hitched. This wasn't just about my mother. This was about me. I reached for another file, and when I opened it, I froze. Inside was a picture of the same man I had seen fall on Maple Street 2 days ago. The man who collapsed near the corner store clutching a clipboard. The man who later disappeared. His photo was paper-clipped next to a page filled with notes. Name: Arthur Hawley. Occupation: field investigator. Last activity: surveillance on Maple Street. Status: missing. My stomach twisted. He wasn't just some random man who fell. He had been investigating something. Investigating me? Before I could process anything further, I heard movement behind me fast. Urgent footsteps coming down the basement stairs. I ducked behind a row of filing cabinets. My heart thudded so loud I was terrified whoever it was would hear it. The footsteps stopped at the bottom of his stairs. I could only see the shadow-tall, broad shoulders, moving slowly like they were searching. Then a voice echoed lightly. She was here. She, not someone. She. They knew I came. Another voice answered, this one quieter. Deeper, colder. If Nia Wilson found the recorder, she'd find the rest. Finish the sweep. We can't let her leave this building. My lungs froze. They wanted to keep me here. Not as a guest. As a problem, I stayed perfectly still, barely breathing. 2 shadows moved across the room. One of them approached the desk where I had been standing just seconds before. Another moved toward the filing cabinets, closer. Closer, their footsteps were slow, calculated. I curled my fingers around the brass key in my pocket, even though I knew a small key wasn't a weapon. But it grounded me, reminded me of who I was here for, my mother. The searcher paused right beside the cabinet I hid behind. I could hear his breathing deep, controlled, like someone trained. His boots scraped the floor slowly as he examined the aisles. If he stepped 3 inches forward, he would see me. I mentally counted. 3, 2. When a loud crash echoed from upstairs, both men snapped their heads up. What was that? Check it. She might not be alone. Within seconds, they rushed back up the stairs. The basement fell silent again, except for the pounding in my chest. I waited a full minute before daring to move. When I finally stood, my legs shook so badly I had to hold the cabinet for balance. I looked at the desk again, at Arthur Hale's photo, at the files that spelt danger in every line. Who were these men? Why were they watching me? And why did they speak about me as if I was part of something much bigger, something that needed containment? I grabbed the most important files and shoved them into my backpack. Whatever was happening here, I wasn't walking away empty-handed. As I climbed the stairs, I moved quietly, listening carefully. When I reached the first floor, the hallway was empty. The door they had used was still swinging slightly. As if someone had left in a hurry, I slipped outside, making sure no one followed me. But as soon as I stepped onto the sidewalk, I realized something chilling across the street. A black SUV was parked, engine running, windows tinted. And although I couldn't see their faces, I could feel their eyes on me. The shadows weren't waiting anymore. They were moving, and now I understand what my mother meant. I was never alone. And I was never safe. Asterisk, the black SUV didn't move. It sat across the street like a silent warning, its engine humming low, almost like it was breathing. I couldn't see through the tinted windows, but I could feel the weight of someone's stare pressing against me. Whoever those men in the basement were. They weren't working alone. The files in my backpack rustled as I tightened my grip. I needed to get home. I needed to read everything, really read it without shadows chasing me. I turned the corner and walked fast, but not too fast. If I ran, I'd look guilty. If I slowed down, I'd look scared. I tried to look like a woman just heading home on an ordinary day, but inside, my nerves were a storm. By the time I reached Maple Street, the SUV was nowhere behind me. For a moment, I allowed myself to breathe again. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, and shut it behind me quickly. I didn't realize how hard my hands were shaking until the keys slipped and hit the floor. I locked all 3 deadbolts, only then did I exhale. The apartment felt different tonight, quieter. Heavier, as though it knew the truth before I did. I dropped my bag on the coffee table, pulled out the files, and sat down. The first folder was filled with surveillance photos, dozens of them. Most were of the neighborhood, but some were painfully specific. My apartment, my workplace, some were taken from angles recognized. Some from angles I had never even noticed, like rooftops, alleyways, distant corners. Then my eyes landed on a photo of the man who fell on Maple Street, Arthur Halle. A short note was scribbled beside it. Halle attempted contact with subject Naya. Intervention required. Intervention. The word made my stomach twist. Had someone stopped him from reaching me? Had someone silenced him? I kept reading. The next file described the Wilson family tree. My mother, Ella, was listed, but not like a normal family record. Her name had tags beside it. Ella Wilson, operative. Cody name, Serpent 12. Affiliation, Cyber Shadows. Cyber Shadows. The same name the audio recording mentioned. The same group my mother was once part of. Pages described their work not in detail, but enough to understand their world. They weren't a street gang or political group. They were something stranger, a secret network that collected information, dangerous information on people, companies, governments. They exposed corruption, uncovered crimes, and sometimes they forced the truth out before people were ready for it. But power like that never stays clean. Many of the operatives had disappeared. Some were hunted. Some switched sides. Some were killed. My mother left the group years before she died. But the file didn't say why. It simply repeated one phrase: status unresolved. Unresolved. Not dead. Not inactive. Just unresolved. My pulse skipped. Was her death really an accident? Before I could let the thought settle, I noticed something else. One more name on the family list. Margot Wilson, senior archivist. Status alive. Alive. My heart tightened. The woman in the photograph at Wilson. Developments, the one standing beside my mother, the one with the silver streaked hair. Margot. Somehow, I wasn't surprised. Family secrets always surface through the ones still living. I flipped the page, and that's when I saw it. At the bottom of the family file, highlighted in red ink, current subject of interest, Naya Wilson. Potential successor. Keyholder. Keyholder. I froze. The brass key in my pocket suddenly felt heavier, like its true meaning had just ignited. What lock was I meant to open? What future was I meant to inherit? And why did they think I was the successor to something my mother tried to escape? My thoughts rushed like wildfire. Then 3 slow knocks on my door, not loud, not frantic, slowed out, like someone knocking on purpose. Like someone letting me know they were not hiding. My breath stopped. Knock, knock. I walked toward the door, every step trembling. I didn't open it, but I pressed my ear against the wood. A woman's voice whispered, Naya, open the door. It's time. My entire body turned to ice because the voice didn't sound unfamiliar. It didn't sound threatening. It sounded like someone who knew me. Someone who expected me. Someone who had been waiting. I swallowed hard and forced my voice out. Who are you? A soft pause. Then, I'm Margot. My knees nearly gave out. She continued in a steady whisper. Your mother left things unfinished. Let me explain before they come back. Before they come back, the men. The SUV. The shadows. I stared at the door handle. I had 2 choices. Open the door, or stay blind. My mother left me secrets. But Margot Wilson had the answers, and the shadows outside were already moving. With trembling fingers, I unlocked the first deadbolt dot and then the second and then the third. The door creaked open, and standing there was the woman from the photograph. Older now, colder now, but unmistakably connected to my mother. She looked straight into my eyes. "Naya," she whispered. "Everything you fear began with us." Asterisk, I didn't sleep the entire night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the man in the serpent's mask collapsing under my taser. And the way he whispered before dying, "You were never meant to find the truth." His words felt like a curse wrapping around my throat. By morning, my apartment felt too small, too quiet, too dangerous. I stared at the walls, feeling them close around me as if the serpents were standing just outside, waiting for me to take one wrong breath. Ella sat at my kitchen table, sipping coffee that had gone cold hours ago. "You know they're coming, right?" she whispered. "I know," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. "Then we can't stay here another minute." She was right. But something in me refused to run. Not this time. Not again. I opened my laptop, pulled up the old security files Margot had stolen from Wilson Developments, and scrolled until I saw a hidden folder called Project Siren. I clicked. Dozens of files opened at once: financial records, research notes, employee logs, psychological studies. And then I saw my mother's name. Dr. Evelyn Wilson, lead behavioral architect. My stomach clenched. My mother had been involved in this project since before I was even born. Every memory I had of her, her late nights, her locked office, her warnings to never trust the board, suddenly sharpened into something darker. Ella leaned over my shoulder. "Naya, what is Project Siren?" I could barely breathe as I read. Project Siren was a digital behavioral weapon, a system capable of influencing public perception, manipulating emotions, and even triggering panic or compliance across entire populations. It wasn't just a software program. It was a psychological control mechanism. Wilson Developments wasn't building a business empire. They were building a mind empire. And the serpents? They were the enforcement arm. My voice trembled. They wanted to use it on the city, maybe? The whole country. Ella's hands shook as she grabbed her phone. "Naya, we have to expose this. Today, right now." I nodded, then froze. Surveillance notifications flashed across. My screen motion detected outside my building. The serpents were here. I slammed my laptop shut. "They found us." Ella darted to the window, peeked out, and gasped. "Naya, there are 4 SUVs. All black. No plates." My heart hammered. I grabbed my backpack. "We need to leave through the maintenance stairwell." We sprinted out the back door of my apartment, racing down the dim corridor. My hands were shaking so violently I almost dropped my keys. But when we reached the street behind my building, I froze, because standing there leaning casually against a car as if he'd been waiting for hours was Jackson Reed, the investigative journalist who had been following our story since day one. He held up his hands. "Don't run. I'm on your side." I didn't trust him. Not fully. "Why are you here?" "Because I intercepted Serpents' communications. They were ordered to take you alive. That means you still have something they want." Ella whispered, "Project Siren." Jackson's eyes widened. "So it's real." I nodded. An explosion rocked the street. One of the Serpents' SUVs had blown open. Smoke clouded the air. Screams echoed. Jackson grabbed our arms. "Move, they'll circle the block." We jumped into his car and he sped off, weaving through traffic. My pulse felt like it was vibrating through my bones. Ella looked back through the rear window. "They're following us." Jackson cursed under his breath. "They have city access. They can reroute traffic lights, shut down roads. They're using siren protocols already." I whispered. He nodded grimly. "They're testing it." On us. My phone buzzed suddenly. A message from an unknown number appeared on the screen. "Stop running, you belong to US." My blood turned ice. Ella read it over my shoulder. Oh God. I deleted the message instantly, but my hands were trembling so much I almost dropped the phone. Jackson glanced at me through the mirror. "Naya, what are you telling me?" I swallowed hard. "I think Project Siren wasn't created by my mother." He frowned. "Then who?" My voice broke. "Me? They built it around me. I was the experiment." The car fell silent. Even Ella stared at me like she didn't know me at all. Jackson's voice was low, careful, almost afraid. Naya, that means they will never stop hunting you. I nodded, feeling something cold and sharp settle inside me. I know. And what are you planning to do? He asked. I looked out the window as the city flashed by streets I'd grown up on. People who had no idea what danger was coming. Then I said the words that felt heavier than the world. Asterisk, asterisk. I'm going to finish what my mother started. I'm going to destroy Project Siren. Asterisk, asterisk. Jackson inhaled sharply. Then prepare yourself, Naya. Ella squeezed my hand because once I said those words, there was no going back. Asterisk. The safe house Jackson took us to was nothing like I expected. No dusty warehouse. No abandoned cabin. It was a penthouse, a clean, glass-walled apartment overlooking the city like a silent guardian. I stared at him. Where did you get this place? It belongs to a friend who owes me more than favors, he said, disarming the security panel. You're safe here. For now. Safe. The word felt foreign to me. Ella walked to the window, looking down at the glowing city. Naya, if Siren goes public, this entire place could fall into chaos. I already knew that. The files I'd seen were only a fraction of the full weapon. Siren could manipulate emotions, fear, obedience, rage. It could turn a peaceful city into a battlefield with a single command. Jackson placed his laptop on the table. Sit. We need to talk about what we're up against. Ella and I exchanged tense glances and joined him. He pulled up a document with a title that made my throat tighten. Shadow. Directive. Containment of subject Naya Wilson. There were pictures of me from years ago. School photos. My college ID. Even surveillance from times I thought I was alone. I whispered. They've been tracking me my whole life. Jackson nodded slowly. I think you already know that. I clenched my fists. That doesn't explain why. He clicked the next file. A scanned medical report appeared, one signed by DDR Evelyn Wilson. My mother. I felt my heart stop. Subject shows unique emotional response resonance. Jackson leaned forward. Your brain reacts to emotional stimuli at an amplified frequency. Siren wasn't just built around you. It was built because of you. Ella whispered. You mean they modeled the weapon on her? Jackson nodded. Naya is the template. Her emotional signature is the algorithm. I couldn't breathe. Memories of childhood tests, odd questions, brain scans. My mother's late-night warnings all clicked together like jagged puzzle pieces. They didn't need my cooperation. I whispered. They already had my data. My voice cracked. I thought my mother was protecting me. But she was protecting Siren. Ella touched my arm. Naya, she tried to help you. She hid what she could. Or she hid me because she feared I'd expose her, I said bitterly, before Ella could respond. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the entire penthouse went dark. Jackson jumped up. That's not a blackout. That's a breach. My pulse surged. Are the Serpents here? Before he could answer, an emergency screen on the wall buzzed to life. Static filled the room, and then a chilling voice sliced through the silence. Naya Wilson. Come home. My blood froze. It was Margot, the woman who once protected me. The woman who saved me from the Serpents once before. Now she sounded like she belonged to them. Ella backed away from the screen. Margot? Why is she? The screen flashed. An image appeared. My mother's old lab. Cold. Empty. Except for a single light shining on a chair. A chair with restraints. Margot's voice returned. Softer this time. This ends tonight, Naya. With us. With your family. Jackson grabbed his gun. We have to leave now. But something in my chest twisted. Wait, I whispered. Ella's eyes widened. Naya, no. This is a trap. You can't go. I know it's a trap, I said. But Margot knows something. Why show me the lab? Why now? Jackson shook his head. You can't trust her. I never said I trust her, I whispered. I said she knows something. Ella stepped forward, panic rising. If we go there, they'll take you. They'll finish Siren. I looked at both of them, my only allies. My only remaining pieces of sanity. I can't destroy Siren without confronting the people who built it, I said quietly. I need answers. A sudden metallic crash echoed from the hallway. The serpents were already here. Jackson pulled Ella close. They're in the building. We need to move. I grabbed my backpack and slung it over my shoulder. Ella's voice broke. Naya, please tell me you don't want to surrender. I don't, I said. But running blindly won't save us. Jackson opened the fire escape door. The sound of heavy boots echoed closer. Naya, decide, now. I clenched my jaw, the fear burning away, replaced by something sharper. Determination. We're going to my mother's lab, I said. That's where this ends, Jackson didn't argue. He nodded. Then let's survive long enough to get there. We bolted down the stairwell as the serpents burst into the penthouse above us. Smashing furniture, shouting commands as we ran through the shadows. My heart pounded with a single, undeniable truth. Tonight, I wasn't just running from the serpents. I was running toward the truth, and whatever waited for me in that lab, it would change everything. The lab was colder than I remembered, not the temperature. The silence. It was the same underground facility my mother used to vanish into late at night. The same place she swore I must never return to. A place filled with locked doors, humming machines, and memories I had spent my entire life trying to outrun. Tonight, I had run right back to it. Alice stayed close behind me, shaking but brave. Jackson held his gun low but ready, scanning every corner. The lab smelled of metal, old wires, and something else. Fear. I stepped forward, my footsteps echoing through the empty hall. Why does it feel like this place has been waiting for me? I whispered. Jackson, answer quietly. Because it has. We followed the faint light down the corridor until we reached the main chamber, the room I'd seen earlier on the emergency screen. There, under a harsh white spotlight, stood Margot. She wasn't wearing her usual jacket. She wasn't smiling her old protective smile. She looked tired, hollow, as if she'd been living in the shadows too long. But when her eyes landed on me, I saw a flash of something familiar. Regret. Naya, she breathed. You shouldn't have come. Then why show me the lab? I demanded. Why call me here? She stepped closer, hands raised, not threatening, just pleading. Because they were going to take you by force, she said. And I refused to let the serpents own you. Ella stepped protectively in front of me. You betrayed us. You led them right to Naya. No, Margot said, shaking her head fiercely. I've been trying to keep her alive. Jackson scoffed. You expect us to believe that? Margot's voice cracked. I gave them false coordinates. I've been sabotaging their servers. I leaked the files to force your hand. My stomach twisted. What files? Margot looked at me with eyes filled with pain. The ones that prove who built Project Siren. My breath hitched. Margot, tell me the truth. She stepped closer until she was right in front of me. The person who designed Siren wasn't just your mother, she said softly. It was you. The words stabbed deeper than any blade. No, I whispered. That's impossible. I was a child. You were a child with a mind unlike anything they'd ever seen, Margot said. Your emotional resonance wasn't just unique, it was powerful. They studied you, tested you, mapped your neurological pathways, and built Siren around the way your brain reacts to fear, hope, pain, trust. Everything. Ella Gaspo. They used her childhood to build a weapon? Margot nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. And your mother tried to stop them. She tried to erase the core data, but the board threatened to kill you. So she hid everything. She hid you. I could barely hear through the ringing in my ears. All this time, I whispered. I thought she was hiding the truth from me. But she was hiding me from the truth. Margot reached out carefully. She loved you, Naya. She died trying to protect you. Before I could speak, a metallic click echoed through the room. We spun around. The serpents had arrived. 4 figures in black. Tacticalumers stepped into the chamber. Guns raised, moving in silent precision. Their leader, a tall man with a serpent emblem on his chest, spoke in a cold, controlled voice. Subject Naya Wilson. You will come with us. Ella grabbed my arm. No, you can't. Jackson aimed his gun. Back off. Margot stepped in front of me, shielding me with her body. You will not touch her. The leader didn't blink. You don't give orders, Margot. Not anymore. And then it happened, the lights flickered. Every machine in the lab powered on at once. Screens glitched. Alarms screamed to life. The serpents froze in confusion. Jackson looked around. What's happening? Margot's eyes widened in horror. They activated Siren. My chest tightened painfully. No, they can't control it without the core. Margot grabbed my shoulders. Naya, listen to me. You are the core. Only you can shut it down. Fear iced through my veins. I don't know how. Yes, you do, she whispered. Your mother built Siren from you, which means the key to destroying it is also you. The machines blared louder. The serpents advanced. Ella screamed my name. Jackson fired a warning shot, and I stepped forward toward the console. Toward the glowing core interface pulsing like a heartbeat. My heartbeat, I placed my hand on it. Instantly. The world went silent. I felt something pull at me, a deep, overwhelming wave of emotions, memories, fears, voices, people. Everything Siren had ever touched. And then my mother's voice, Naya. You are stronger than what they built from you. Tears streamed down my face. For you, Mom, I whispered. I took a deep breath. And I shut it down. The machines exploded with light. Then darkness. Total silence. When I opened my eyes, the serpents lay unconscious. The screens were fried. The lab was dead. Siren was gone. Ella rushed to me, sobbing. You did it. Naya, you actually did it. Jackson stared at the destroyed system, shaking his head. People will never know how close we came to losing everything. Margot stepped beside me. Her eyes soft and full of something like pride. You saved the world from the weapon they built from your pain. I looked at the broken core. No. I whispered. I saved myself. Final ending and note T. As we walked out of the lab together, the sun was rising over the city. For the first time in my life, I felt free. Truly free. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't just a survivor of Project Siren, I was the one who destroyed it.